We continue now at the top of Daf Samechayim Beis Meseches Chulin. This is Chullin Daf 65b. On the previous summit, the Gemara was discussing the pasuk which discusses grasshoppers. The full pasuk is as Eila mehem tochelu. The following you're allowed to eat: Eso arbe lemino, v'esa solam lemineu, v'esa chargo lemineu, v'esa chogav lemineu. And on the previous summit, the Gemara quoted a brisa which discussed the interpretation of this pasuk. And now the Gemara is in the middle of a second brisa, Tana Dvei Rabbi Shmuel, that has a slightly different approach to the pasuk. And in this version, essentially, the Gemara said we're darshaning it in a form of klal uprat, which will be explained in the Gemara. But in any case, the brisa now continues and says, when it says in the pasuk again, as ha'arbe limino comes to include tzipores kramim, it comes to include the vineyard tzipores. The idea is that it's similar to the arbe because it's not bald, and therefore any other grasshopper that shares this characteristic is also included. And the brisa continues and says, Ein li ela haba ve'ein lo gabachas. Now I only know to include a grasshopper that has the four kosher signs that were mentioned in the Mishnah, and additionally, it's ein lo gabachas, it lacks the bald head. That I know to include. But haba v'yesh lo gabachas. Let's say the grasshopper comes before us, and it has the four signs, but yesh lo gabachas, it has a bald head, minayin, so from where do we know that we should include that as well? Talmud lomar solam, that's what the pasuk means when it says solam. Zen nipol, that refers to the nipol, that's a certain kind of grasshopper that's bald. And lemineu, then it says the lemineu, lavi esa ushkaf, that comes to include the ushkaf, that's also bald. And the brisa continues, v'yein li ela haba v'ein lo gabachas, haba v'yesh lo gabachas, haba v'yein lo zanav. Now I only know to include that which comes before us, it does not have a bald head, that which comes before us and does have a bald head, that which comes before us and has no tail. But haba v'yesh lo zanav, what if it comes before us and it has a tail? Minayin, how do we know to include that? Talmud lomar chargol, the pasuk says chargol, ze rashon, that refers to the rashon, again a certain kind of grasshopper, and lemineu, and then it says lemineu, lavi es ha-karsepes v'es ha-shachlonis, that comes to include the karsepes and the shachlonis, again these also have tails, and those are included. And the brisa continues, v'yein li ela haba v'yein lo gabachas, haba v'yesh lo gabachas, again I only know to include what comes before us with no bald head, with a bald head, haba v'yein lo zanav, it comes before us with no tail, haba v'yesh lo zanav, it comes before us with a tail, haba v'yein rosho arach, it comes before us and its head is not long, but haba v'rosho arach, if it comes before us and its head is long, minayin, from where do we know that? So Amrit we say as follows, harei atadon binyan av mishloshtan, you can make a binyan av, essentially you learn from the common characteristics of the three of them. Lo roy arbe koroi chargol, the arbe is not like the chargol. Velo roy chargol koroi arbe, the chargol is not like the arbe. Velo roy shneim koroi solam, and the both of them are not the same as the solam. Velo roy solam koroi shneim, and the solam is not like both of them. Hatzar hashava shebehen, the common denominator among them, sheyesh lo dalet raglayim, that it has four legs. V'arba kanafayim, it has four wings. V'kartzulayim, and it has two jumping legs. Zuchanafav chofen esrubo, and its wings cover the majority of it. Afkal, so too by anything, sheyesh lo arba raglayim, if it has four legs, v'arba kanafayim, and four wings, v'kartzulayim, and two jumping legs, uchnafav chofen esrubo, and the wings cover the majority, that's what we include. And the brisa continues, v'alo hatzirtzur hazeh, but what about the tzirtzur? Yesh lo arba raglayim, it has four legs, v'dalet kanafayim, and it has four wings, v'kartzulayim, and it has two jumping legs, uchnafav chofen esrubo, and its wings cover its majority. Yachol yehei mutter, I might think that's also mutter. So there, Talmud lomar chagav, the pasuk finally says chagav, sheshmo chagav, it has to be referred to as chagav. And the brisa continues, yishmo chagav, but if its name is chagav, yachol einbo kol hasimonim halalu, one might think that if it doesn't have all of these signs, that it should still be considered kosher. Talmud lomar limineu, so that's what the pasuk says, limineu ad sheyehebo kol hasimonim halalu, it has to have all of these characteristics. If it has all of the characteristics mentioned above, the four walking legs, the four wings, the two jumping legs, and the wings that cover the greater part of its body, so then it can be included. And the Gemara continues, Parach Rav Achoy asks the following question, Malahanoch shekein ein roshan arach, all of the grasshoppers that are mentioned, in terms of their common characteristic, their heads are not elongated. So how are we including a grasshopper whose head is elongated? Now if you're going to say, Kevan deshavu bedalit simonin, maisinan velo parchin, and maybe you're going to say, since once a species of grasshopper is similar in the four basic characteristics, we derive that it's kosher, and we don't refute based on the difference in terms of the shape of the head. But if you're going to say that, if so, chargol nami, so when it comes to the chargol as well, the shavulu, the chargol also is similar to the arba and the solam in the four basic characteristics. Its only difference is that it has a tail. So lo lichtov, so that shouldn't need to be written. written. V'teisei me'arba v'solam, and it could just be learned from the arba and the solam. And we'll learn out from the common characteristics. And so the Gemara continues, rather, it's because there is a possibility of a refutation. The refutation would be, as we said, with those, so there's no tail. And so therefore you're going to ask that over here there is a tail, and that's why it needs to be written. But if that's the reason it needs to be written, so here also, we also can refute. We could say that all those examples in the psukim, their head is not long, and so therefore, why are we able to include the grasshopper that's head is long? And so the Gemara continues, rather Rav Achoy says, Solam Yiseruhu. Actually, the word Solam in the Pasuk is extra, because Lo Lichtov Rachmana Solam, the Pasuk doesn't need to write Solam. V'teise me'arba mechargol, and you really could learn it out from Arba and Chargol. Demai Parachta, because what are you going to ask? What's the question? Mala Arba de'ein lo gabachas, you'll say that the Arba doesn't have the bald head. Hare Chargol de'yesh lo gabachas, the Chargol does have the bald head. Mala Chargol de'yesh lo zanav, the Chargol has a tail. Hare Arba de'ein lo zanav, the Arba does not have a tail, and so therefore you don't really need Solam. So Solam the cause of Rachman Olamali. So why does it say Solam in the pasuk? Imeino inyan legufo, and so we do in Imeino inyan. Imeino inyan means if we don't need it for itself because it can already be derived. So Teneyu inyan larosho arach, we can apply it to even if the head is long. Still, it's going to be as long as it has the kosher characteristics. It is going to be kosher, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Samech Vav Amud Aleph.